Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I welcome you all for this special mega event come educational session conducted by Division B. My name is Rajendra Kholia and I'll be your Sergeant at Arms for today's educational session. There are few ground rules which we need to follow, that we need to keep our mobiles on silent. The speakers are requested not to speak about the taboo topics like sex, politics, and religion. We request everyone to keep their microphones muted, though it is muted by the host itself. But still, if by mistake there is any participant's mic is on unmute and there is background noise, it may create a disturbance for the speaker. It is better to have cameras off to have the better bandwidth and very good connection. And at the end, you can use the reactions to appreciate and applaud the speakers. With said that, I would invite one of the most energetic and knowledgeable, and I would say encyclopedia of pathways. This is what I know him personally, that he is the encyclopedia of pathways. Our Division B director, Mr. Vinod Panikar, DTM Vinod Panikar, I welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Rajendra, for that wonderful introduction. For the people who are seeing Rajendra for the first time, he has just joined Toastmasters 3 months ago, and he is the new Sergeant at Arms of DSO Toastmasters Club, and he is a very young, dynamic, and upcoming leader. So are many more leaders in Division B. On behalf of all the members in Division B and all the leaders, I personally take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you for the last time in this term of 2019-2020. 2 days, after 2 days, you will be having a new division director who is much more flamboyant, and he has agreed that he will be doing much more than what I did. So you will be more happier the next term. And I cannot contain my excitement, because this was one of the vision then when I took over as a division director, that we need to bring expert speakers from outside to inside Toastmasters, so that we can motivate Toastmasters to go outside and speak in their own niche. And the other was about podcasting and blogging. We did that, and many of our members have started doing that. And a lot of things to say. And today this session is jam-packed with powerful speakers, and there will be only one session that I will be conducting for a gratitude or saying thank you to the selected leaders, and the rest I will personally call them and give it to them. But before that, we have the chief guest for this event is our district director, DTM Robin Anand. He is my personal role model. I would request DTM Robin to please come up on the screen and share give his address to Division B team and all the audience.
Thank you so much, DTM Vinod, for those kind words. Coming from you, they mean a lot, because I think you have been an inspiration leader, not only to Division B, I think to the entire district, because thanks to you, we have a lot of very interesting sessions happening. And I think kudos to you and your team. Now, let me say good evening to all the members who have tuned into this wonderful initiative, the members, the leaders, the area leaders, division leaders, and all the other district leaders. I have just seen DTM Rania here, so good evening to you, and all the other organizers, and of course our special guests who are going to speak today. A very good evening to all of you, and thank you for agreeing to be part of this initiative, because I think today we need all the skills that we can have. In fact, if anybody would have asked me what are my 3 wishes, it would be to give me a happy mindset, make me emotionally strong, and let me have the skills to organize my thoughts at any given point of time. And Division B director appears, Vinod Panikar, and says, so be it, sir, you have all your three wishes. And that's exactly what we are having today. We have three experts who are going to share some very, very important skills, because I think these are tough times. So we need these very, very important skills to have a happy mindset, emotionally strong, and of course, organize our thoughts. So very, very thoughtful of Division B to organize this program. And I wish all the organizing team the best, the speakers the best. And I hope all our members who are tuned in today, they get the best out of it and take these skills and share it with their club members. So all the best. Take it away, DTM Vinod Panikar.
Thank you very much, DTM Robin, for the wonderful words. We also have our region advisor, DTM Sunil. DTM Sunil, can we have you on the screen?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you loud and clear, and we can see you also.
Congratulations, DTM Vinod, for this mega event. Actually, we all deserve celebration, especially seeing the way you have worked for last 1 year. You truly deserve it. It's my honor to be here, to be part of, to witness this celebration event today. And I wish all the Division B team to continue this, whatever you have started this year. You have laid foundation on the good practices, the learning culture. Let that continue, and let us see it spreading everywhere and making not only our Division B or the nearby divisions in Dubai, but the entire district. Let us see the fragrance going around, the learning culture going around, and let us see this positive spirit spreading everywhere from that glorious moments you have created during last 1 year. Wishing the team, the entire team behind this, all the very best. Continue that. Keep up the glory of learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DTM Sunil. As I always say, you are one of the reason why I'm still in Toastmasters. Thank you very much for being here. And the reason why we have, one of the Toastmaster asked me this week, Vinod, after this COVID situation, and while we are coming online, Division B has started to do a lot of education sessions. Why? And I said, no, you are wrong. Division B was doing education sessions right from September. I took over in August, and September was our first event with the Big B DTM Balaji. And after that, every month or alternate month, we had education sessions. The only limitation was it was in a venue, physical venue, so only limited people could be called for that. But now, because we are on Zoom, we can call the entire world, and people are also coming. Thank you very much for that. Now, why today's session? Now, many times what happens is you attend an education session, you hear what the speakers say, then you go back home, taking 1 or 2 nuggets and going home. I always thought, how is it possible that we can capture all the learnings that we get in an education session in any training? That's how we came across MINDMAPS. And we did a trial session last meeting where we had the District 64 Director from Ontario, Canada. He gave a session on membership, and we did a mind mapping session to capture, and that session was super. We captured so much learning that we wanted to do the same thing over in this session too. And that is why you will see the lineup of that. But before moving on to our star-studded speakers, I wanted to thank few people. And let me take this opportunity to share my screen. To thank every leader in Division B who has helped me in this journey to learn and grow. I may miss out many leaders, but I assure you, I will personally call each one of you and give my thanks. Now, let us start with the club leaders. And as the Toastmasters motto says, where leaders are made, we made sure that we are creating leaders in Division B. Dubai Toastmasters President Toastmaster Nizar Mehlam, one of the oldest club in Northern Emirates, he has gone to become Area 20 Director. Toastmaster Akbar Ali, who is a visionary, and he started the club Al Wasal. It's a corporate club. We have some amazing speakers, and in the first year itself, they had a representation in DTAG for Arabic speech contest. Toastmaster Sharon Kuruvilla, our superwoman, Burj Toastmasters won the best Toastmasters club in entire Dubai. So that was a tremendous achievement, and she is going to be the Area 50 director. Toastmaster Muniba Ali, a resilient leader who brought almost a dead club from 8 or 9 members to make that club president distinguished, and she is the new Area 21 director. Toastmaster Ajit Nandlal from McDermott Toastmaster Club. Now, one thing I would request all the corporate clubs which are struggling to have an education session from McDermott XCOM team. Not only they have 30 plus members, not only they are 10 DCP goals, but they are very active in each and every event of the division. So that is something we need to learn, that this is how a corporate club needs to function. Toastmaster Supriya, a club, a school-based club, but only in 1 year they had representatives in speech contest and they did an amazing job. Toastmaster Sunita took Apple's Toastmaster to a totally different level this year by engaging most of the senior members for mentoring other clubs. Toastmaster Shanil, not only he is an actor, he has done a lot of service to this community, leads is a Malayalam club, and he has made sure that he's raising the flag high of Leeds Toastmasters. Sachin is a true servant leader. Recently, they had a joint meeting of 4 countries, Nepal, Pakistan, India, and UAE. Now, he is one innovative guy we all need to look out for next year. And one of our star speaker who will be speaking today, the tango dancer and singer, whatever you can say, she also made her club distinguish, a club which was surviving, just to struggling to survive. She had made her distinguish yesterday. Thank you. Toastmaster Ajita, she is my president, president of Dubai Silicon Oasis Toastmaster Club, a humble leader, takes care of a gavel club and doing an extraordinary service to Toastmasters. Toastmaster Shweta Agarwal, again a corporate club, has been doing amazingly well in Area 23. Chaitanya Bambi from IMT, the most innovative club, or I would say in the one of the world's most innovative club. If you attend one meeting, you will keep attending most of the meetings over there. DTM Vipin Divakar, he has taken Tejas to a different level. They added 15 members in last 1 month, and this club has been the most active club in our division. Toastmaster Iman, UAE Ladies Club, Arabic and English club. She has been a very, very strong leader in helping UAE ladies, and she's also forming a new gavel club. Now, time to thank our champions. Toastmaster Divya came second at DTAC. Toastmaster Divya Raj is from DSO Club, Area 23. She represented Division B in DTAC. Toastmaster Suhair represented Division B in DTAC for Arabic speech. She was not placed, but I was very happy for the efforts that she had put on. Thank you very much, champions. And the most important is, this year we could not have table topic evaluation and humorous speech contest. So what we, from our side, we can thank all of you that who participated and who were the winners. These are the Area 20 winners. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart that all of you put so much effort, but we could not keep a physical contest or online contest for you. That was a decision taken by the district. These are the Area 21 winners for humorous table topic and evaluation. And this is for Area 22. And this is for Area 23. So best wishes. Most of you might be thinking the competition will be next year. I just want to give you a message, my dear friends. The competition is just 4 months away. In Division B, the contest season starts in October, in the first month of October. July, August, September, October. We all just have 4 months. So start preparing for your contest from today. And to the main awards, to our superstars. Our area director, Area 20, Toastmaster Samir GP. I would like, on behalf of our entire team, give an award of being the most resilient area. This area had struggled the most to keep a corporate club alive, and they did their best. Even now, yesterday also, he was trying to make sure the club gets revived. A daring, dashing personality who never gives up. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Samir. Then here we have Area 21, Toastmaster Abdul Sattar. The most vibrant area. Area 21 was like the a place where the cool guys hang around in the town. They had Zumba in the speech contest. They had so many keynote speeches, and it was the most happening area. And one more most important thing that I would like to thank Dr. Abdul Sattar is for being the most dynamic Toastmaster for Division B. He was our unofficial division PR. And before even I asking him anything, he used to call me every day, what is the next event? What should I do? So Dr. Abdul Sattar, thank you very much for all your vibrant and dynamic energy that you had given to us. Area 22 DTM Shakil Chaudhary, the most diverse area. It has got a Hindi club, it has got a Malayalam club, and these people have a lot of fun. Area 22 Toastmaster Harish Krishnan, who is the Division B Director-elect. It's the most collaborative area. Now, if there is any area, what I have seen in any district, I believe whatever knowledge I have, this is one area where everybody functions as one. They are so helpful to each and every other. So I believe that they deserve this award of most collaborative area. And if one picture I want to share what is Division B and how was the leadership, that is our immediate past Division Director DTM Ramesh Menon clicking picture of all our core team. And this is how we celebrated the entire year. And the special one now. The Toastmaster of the Year award to Toastmaster Sharon Kuruvilla. She was selected as the best Toastmaster in entire District 105. And Toastmaster Sharon from the entire Division B, this is a small gift for you. May I please request Toastmaster Sharon to please come up on the screen. And before our superstar speakers will start speaking, I would like to start this mega learning event with a 3-minute speech from you to tell each and everyone over here what is Toastmasters for you and what should a leader do. Over to you.
Thank you so much, DTM Vinod Parikar, for this wonderful opportunity. I'm really humbled and I'm very happy for having received this award. It's an honor actually. When I received the award itself, I had said, you had asked me to speak about something like why do I love Toastmasters? So if I just rewind a bit, 4.5 years ago, when I joined Toastmasters, when I came for the first meeting of Toastmasters, thanks to DTM Nisha Vargas who invited me, at the moment I walked in, I knew I belonged to this place. From then, it was 1 year I was a very casual Toastmaster, but the passion of Toastmaster, that began when I took up a club leader role. The very first role that I took up was that of a VPPR. At that time, that is when I started enjoying, when you help others, when you touch another person, when you, their life, you are able to help another person. And that is where I started enjoying Toastmasters. And I became a very passionate Toastmaster and from then I started taking several roles, and it gave me more and more opportunities to deal with people. And the gratitude on their faces, and when you see them perform, there's nothing like it. And the most important lesson that I learned over the past 2 years is whenever there is an opportunity, say yes. When I was given the opportunity to take up the VP education role in 2 different clubs, people told me, along with area PQD in area 21, people told me you're going to go cuckoo because those are 2 very strong clubs. You are going to go mad. I said, no, I like the challenge and I've always loved the challenge. And that is the way you stretch yourself, you will get to know different dimensions of yourself. And in March, last time, this year in March, when I had to, I was really scared in March when they said we have to go online. I didn't know. I was really, really scared. But look at it. I didn't even know when DTM Saju Varghese asked me to be a part of his IT team. I was really scared, but I said yes. So say yes to every challenge that comes your way. I didn't know ABCD of Zoom. Today, I'm called for education sessions on how to become a Zoom master. So that is what the Toastmasters does to you. You say yes to any challenge, say yes to all the opportunities. And this is a place where you can grow to any extent. But always remember to help others, give a helping hand to others. And that is the most rewarding thing that you can have. And thank you once again to my DD, Vinod Panikar, who told me, he asked me one question. Yesterday he asked me, Sharon, what is your 1,000-year goal? I looked at him and I said, I don't think I'll be living more than 60 years when you're asking me for the 1,000-year goal. He said, no, after 1,000 years, how do you want to be remembered? I said, I want to be remembered as a kind person, as a person who has helped people. And so that should be all our mottos. And that is the most important lesson and the most important message I want to give you all. Thank you once again to my guiding light, DTM Vinod Panikar, for having given me this opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Sharon, for that wonderful motivational message. And I hope listening to this, many of the Toastmasters would take on more leadership roles. So ladies and gentlemen, let's start our journey to the Power Pack speakers. Coming on first would be a session on mind mapping. Now, this international speaker and trainer is very special. She was a charter president of Desert Voices, which celebrated 16th anniversary yesterday. And she is the president even today. And she took up this role because she wanted to help the club. And from a membership base of 8 and 10, now it is 20. She makes people dance. I went to her club only once, giving a training, and she made me dance even though I was not at all comfortable. And she learned mind mapping from Tony Buzan, the person who founded this. She has been helping a lot of people over the past 20 years, along with a lot of people. And she has founded a Filipino community for computers where more than 33,000 students have learned under her and upgraded their skills. I can keep talking and talking about the accolades that DTM Jijie has, but I would like to all of you to see her right now. Please put your hands together to welcome DTM Distinguished Toastmaster Jijie, the international speaker and trainer, for her session on mind mapping. And she will be here with her mind map warriors. Yes, Distinguished Toastmaster Jijie.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes. Over to you, all to you. We can see your screen. We can hear you also.
Thank you, Didi Vinod, for this opportunity. I'm really delighted to share this tool. For some of you, you may have heard it before, but today you will be using mind mapping as a note-taking tool. So if you have attended my presentation before, you could consider this as a review so that maybe you can share the same to others as well. So in the next few minutes, I would be taking you through the power of mind mapping to see how you can use this as a note-taking tool and how it's used for brainstorming. I had the opportunity to first get to know about mind mapping when I was given a very challenging task to manage the website of the very first version for the Ministry of Education. And that is to connect 10,000 schools with all different subjects as arts, music, so many. And I thought I'm going to go crazy with this. And then somebody told me, why don't you look at mind mapping? And I researched on it. At that time, there was no Facebook or LinkedIn. And I got to know that there was a person by the name of Tony Buzan who is a master in this. And I took the effort of reaching out to him, and he has been so supportive. And that time, he became my personal mentor, guiding me through emails. And even there was no certification course at that time. But because he knew I was handling a very challenging task for the Ministry of Education, he was very generous to share his knowledge. He is known, of course, as the father of mind mapping. So you see here, this is him represented in the mind map. So you will see the mind map has the main topic at the center. In this case, it's Tony Buzan. Then you have the topics radiating from it with different colors. So you could consider this as the branches like educator, author, software founder, and so on. And then radiates the sub branches. So have you ever put together your autobiography, your CV, or your profile into a paragraph or a linear format? What about if you try to do it like this? It's going to be really interesting, isn't it? So this is my first challenge to you. Mind map yourself so that next time when you need to introduce yourself or you need to be introduced by someone, you could simply give your mind map and it would be easier for that person to mind map you. Another challenge, mind map the people around you, your families, your friends. Believe me, you will discover a lot of things about them. It's very simple. Just start with the central topic, but I will take you through it step by step. You see, Tony Buzan had written so many books, but of course, the most popular one are about mind maps, mind map mastery, Tony Buzan. So any of you who would be interested to see these books, of course, they are available in the bookstores and Amazon. There is also a special mind map for kids. So he had mastered how the brain functions. I had the opportunity to use mind maps in my entire career. It has been an integral part of what I do. This is one of the highlights where we did a mind mapping session for the Abu Dhabi Executive Council. As you can see on the side, those are the mind maps of the directors of the Abu Dhabi Executive Council. So today you will be using the same tool that they have used as well. See, we have so many ideas. We don't come up without ideas. We are, in fact, bombarded with so many ideas, and we call it as information overflow with Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, everywhere. But the challenge for us is how do we organize these ideas? Well, you may use post-it notes, but this is not still the most efficient way of doing it. You see, our mind is, you could recognize what is this? The neurons of our brains. It doesn't look so attractive, right? But you see, each of these are nodes. And below, I have the keywords here. It says association. It is by association where we build connections. Whatever you're learning, you're linking it to what you have learned before. We call it a schema. And only then you come up with a new learning. So if you want your brain cells to be active, keep on learning, keep on trying new things. Are you aware that we produce 12 to 60,000 thoughts daily? And sadly, 80% of these are negative. 95% of them are repetitive thoughts. And today, well, you're going to learn certain tools, techniques on how these negative thoughts can be turned into a more uplifting and positive way that would make you a more productive person. The thing is, you've got to be focused. You've got to be able to concentrate on one thing at a time. Mind mapping helps you to do that. So while you'll be listening to our prominent speakers, they are authors and experts in their own field. Try to be focused on what they're talking about, but make your mind associate with certain things that you've already experienced, certain things that you know, and keep on noting this down. You see athletes who are good in tennis, in cricket, in football. Do you think they think how they play? Or they just simply play, they just hit the ball, they just kick the ball? No, I don't see the reactions now because I have the full screen, but I'm sure you will agree with me that they really think about how they play, right? But my question is, do we think how we think? Maybe not most of the time, but there is a way to think how to think, and that is mind mapping. As Albert Einstein say, can we read this all together? 1, 2, 3.
The definition
of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Albert Einstein. So after this, or within this pandemic, we hopefully will get back. But as they say, there is no going back to normal. It's not there anymore. We've got to just face the reality that everything has changed. It's a new beginning for us. So how do we cope? We can't go back to the previous way. We can't continue doing the same thing. We need to challenge our brains. We need to challenge ourselves to think differently, right? Now, some of us are gifted to have the imagination, colors. You like singing, dancing, music, coloring, right? Any of you? Raise your hand. Okay, some of you are into this. Who are those who are into logic, into lists, into working on details? Okay, they are more the serious type. The first one, they are more the fun type. Okay, but there's a good news. See, if you were born to be predominantly good on one side of your brain, like maybe you are more into the imagination, color, and the right side, you still can develop the left side. The same manner, if in the beginning you're not so good in singing and dancing and all these colors and imagination, you can still develop the other side of your brain. And when you develop that other side of your brain and you go back to your dominant side, you will be even better. So what do you need to mind map? Very simple. You need a paper. Do you have a paper? Colored pens. Ideally, it would be good if you have 3 colors, like you have green, blue, red, minimum. But it would be nice for you to have more, of course. And most importantly, of course, you need your brain, right? So what do you do? You will be using the left and the right side of your brain, and your mind map will have keywords. Try to use keywords, okay? And when you write them in capital letters, because sometimes you yourself, you don't understand what you've written, right? Another component of your mind map is the colors, as I said. Colors help our minds to be more imaginative. So put colors in your mind map. Okay. Patterns and graphics, lines and arrows. Draw lines and colors with any graphics that you can think about. As they say, picture speaks louder than words. See, when you think of the fruit mango, it's not like M-A-N-G-O, right? Now mangoes from Pakistan are very sweet. You have to give them a try. But you see, it's not the words that is retained in your mind. It is that colorful, juicy, tasty mango, which is mainly a graphical representation of that. Symbols and codes, use symbols as well to make it easier for your team to remember the meanings of these words. You can even use different symbols. Shapes, you can use triangle, rectangle, whatever you like. Another term that you may use is boundaries. Boundaries in mind mapping is about grouping ideas together. And so here, in a nutshell, you've got the center topic, the central topic, then you radiate them as the main topic, And so you branch them and expand them into like an inverted root of a tree, where you could keep on adding as much as you like. And when you find one idea and another idea, link these two, and we call that as relationship. There you come up with a new idea. Here, very quickly, I'm just showing you a few of this mind maps. But before that, I like this quote. It says that none of us is as smart as all of us. So when we all gather together to learn, to discuss new ideas, we're building from one idea to another. We're building from the knowledge of someone into our own. And that's what you're going to do today. So I will be encouraging you to mind map whatever you're going to learn from the two speakers. So you look at these mind maps here as examples. So you could draw a picture at the center and radiate keywords, relate the keywords as much as you like. And this is Marie Curie. It's a representation of her life. And this is another one. So this is just to give you an idea about what mind maps are. When you go to Google and just type mind maps, you will see a lot of these graphics. Okay, some are done electronically. Okay, every ordinary people visualize not what is possible or probable, but rather what is impossible. And by visualizing the impossible, they begin to see it as possible. We are extraordinary Toastmasters. Definitely, we can make things possible. Our facilitators will be using a software called Mind Manager, and yours truly is a consultant and a trainer of this one, this software. And they've been so kind enough to learn, to be prepared to facilitate our sessions today. Well, Mind Manager is a software that can help you think, plan, and communicate effectively. And has so many usage on creative thinking, productivity, to name a few, business planning. Did you know that after September 11, Mind Manager, this MindJet software was used to structure rebuilding downtown Manhattan? This mind map now is displayed at the New York Museum because of its importance in rebuilding Manhattan. Ken Blanchard, well, for every book he had written, he started it with a mind map. My uncle, Al Gore, with all his documentary about his favorite topic, he mind mapped it. Another good friend, an associate of mine, he used mind maps as well. Mind mapping makes knowledge more valuable by revealing the hidden meaning that comes when you start connecting the dots. So you will be connecting ideas today with your facilitator. Some famous mind mappers, do you know this lady? Well, in addition to this lady, you will now be considered as one. In closing, I say, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. It's my sincere hope and prayers that whatever you dream about, it will be a reality. I'm sure you're going to have fun. In the meantime, let me remind you of my dear mentor, inspiration, father of mind mapping. This is Tony Buzan. Include him in your prayers. As we do our mind maps, I think we continue his legacy. Have a great time with your facilitators, and I see you in a while. Over to you, Didi Finod.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause to distinguished Toastmaster and international speaker DTM Jijie for the basics of mind map. You will actually jump into the water and learn the swimming with the mind map warriors. They have been practicing intensively to ensure that you learn all this quickly. And when it will happen at the end of the sessions. Now, when DTM Jijie, I attended one session, what I learned from her, just let me quickly share. This is something which I made and gave a session in one of the Toastmasters Club. Now, no need for any PPT, just executive committee, what are the roles of each and everyone. And I got a very good feedback that it was easy to remember. So it is very practical tool, very easy to use, and very, very useful. Now let's kickstart the second speaker. Let's start the mega learning event. We already started. Let's continue on that. To introduce our second speaker, let me call upon someone special. She is the member of my home club, DSO Toastmasters. If I want to give one word to her, it is dedication. Even when she was carrying, she never skipped a single Toastmasters meeting. And after delivering her baby, she messaged her club first that I delivered a baby. And when we went to hospital, her husband told me that you are the first guys whom she messaged. That much she likes all of you. She's someone who is a very, very passionate Toastmaster. Please put your hands together to welcome Toastmaster Pragnya to introduce our first speaker and to moderate that session. Can I have Toastmaster Pragnya up on screen? Thank you, Toastmaster Pragnya. Over to you.
Thank you, DTM Vinod. That was a very humble and warm, heartwarming introduction. Thank you for that. But this introduction now is not about me, but about a very special person. So let's get right to it. Now, what comes to your mind when we say chemicals? Sulfur dioxide, methane, oxygen, nitrogen, other chemicals I can't even remember names of. And I'm glad I forgot a lot of it because chemistry was never my subject. But our next speaker is a special one. Someone who has a very special relationship with chemicals. An expert on a different kind of chemicals, not just the oxygen, nitrogen. She is an expert on the happy brain chemicals. As a teacher and a parent, she was not convinced by prevailing theories of human motivation. Then she learned about the brain chemistry we share with earlier mammals and everything made sense to her. She began creating resources that have helped thousands of people make peace with their inner mammal. The founder of the Inner Mammal Institute and Professor Emerita of Management at California State University, East Bay, the Inner Mammal Institute offers videos, books, podcasts, multimedia, training programs, and a free 5-day happy chemical jumpstart. This graduate of Cornell University and Tufts is also the author of many personal development books, including a very popular Habits of a Happy Brain. Retrain your brain to boost your serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphin levels. Her work has been translated into 8 languages and is cited in major media. Before teaching, she worked for the United Nations in Africa too. It is our privilege to have this accomplished speaker, author, and trainer here today to give us a sneak peek into the world of happy brain chemicals. You can wire yourself to enjoy happy chemicals in healthy new ways, she says. It is an honor for us to have a chance to pick her brain and to learn your power over happy brain chemicals. It gives me immense pleasure and pride to introduce her. And with a thunderous round of applause, please join me to extend a very warm welcome to the very special, beautiful, stupendous Dr. Loretta Breuning.
Thank you so much. I can hear the applause. I'm so happy to be with you today. It's exciting to feel like I'm out in the world, and I'm so grateful to have your questions afterwards. So I just put my presentation on full screen and now I can't see you anymore. So please do give me feedback if anything is wrong, okay? Okay, yes? Are you, okay, so, excuse me?
Have you started sharing or no, not yet?
Oh, you're right, thank you. I forgot to push the sharing button. That's what it was, okay. Thank you so much. Where is, there, okay, yay. That was the deal. Okay, can you see it now?
Not yet.
Okay, still waiting. Let me know. It says on my side that I'm sharing.
Yes, yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so now I'm going to full screen. And is that good? And you can still see me and it's fine? Okay, good. So probably you've heard a little bit about these chemicals in the news. And I take a very different perspective on the way they work. It's not a medical perspective at all. So it's totally not about something is wrong with you and you need to take a pill. It's also not about needing to know about this region of the brain and that region of the brain. I'm only going to talk about the very simple responses that all animals have, including us. And you're going to say, wow, that's exactly what's going on in my mind and everybody else. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about how this is all affected by quarantine. Are you guys still in quarantine? I think you are. So yeah, yes, okay. So some of the new challenges that result from quarantine. One is fear, all different kinds. One is the fear of illness and another is fear of isolation. And so we're going to talk about new ways to reduce cortisol, which you've probably heard of as the stress chemical. The other new challenge is self-discipline when you have to work alone. And that's where we're going to talk about new ways to stimulate dopamine. Dopamine is the excitement that you feel when you're about to get a reward. And this is what keeps us taking action towards our goal. And when you're working on your own, you have to structure that action yourself. Finally, loneliness is a new challenge, and we'll talk about new ways to stimulate oxytocin, which is the chemical that animals feel when they're in a herd because they feel safe. And so we have a brain that makes us feel safe when we're in a group, and when we're isolated, we have to work to create that feeling of safety and protection because we still have social support even though we're physically alone. So let's start by thinking from an animal perspective. This animal, this gazelle, lives with threat all the time. There's always predators in the world. So how does it stay calm? It can't say, I'm going to stay home until there's no threats in the world. It has to go out into the world and find food and water. So how does it keep itself calm? Well, it focuses on the path in front of it and it trusts its own skills. And when it does that, it's soon back to getting rewards. So that's what our brain is trying to do. It's looking for what is the safe path to rewards. And if you focus on lions all the time, then you're going to have a lot of threatened feelings, but your animal brain has the ability to focus on the path in front of you, and then it will reward you with happy chemicals when it sees that you're getting closer and closer to a reward. Now, you may be thinking, yes, but the gazelle may get killed, and some gazelles get eaten. That's because you have a bigger brain than the gazelle, and you can think about abstractions, things that are not really there. The small animal brain only thinks about what is my next step to survive. Now, the problem is with a big human brain, we can always think of some possible future threat. And as soon as we solve one problem, we focus on the next problem. So we will feel threatened every minute of every day. If you were out on the savannah with this gazelle, you would be imagining lions all the time. So what can you do to focus on the path to rewards rather than focusing on the lion? So our brain is designed to scan for both threats and rewards. When you see something bad for your survival, your brain alarms you with cortisol, the threat chemical. And when you see something good for your survival, your brain rewards you with happy chemicals. And these are the four I talk about, and they create four different feelings. When we talk about them, you'll see. And we want all of them. So that's why as soon as we have one, we want the other, and always trying to get them all. So we'll have a little bit of time to talk about them, but there's a lot more in my books and on my website and all of my resources, so you can get all the information. So our brain gives priority to threats. When it looks for threats first, because a threat can kill you faster than missing out on a reward. So that's why it takes constant effort and self-management to not focus on threats all the time. And our brain evolved to promote survival, not to make you happy. So it's very important to know this. And if you look at this picture, this is actually me with a real brain at a conference where they let us touch it. Now, cortisol tells your brain to gather evidence about threats. So that means the minute you start feeling stressed, you're looking for, where's the lion? because a gazelle needs to know where is the lion so that it can run in the other direction. So you are always gathering information about what might go wrong and what might hurt you and what might hurt people you love. So your whole attention will be on that, and that's all you will see in the world if you just go with that flow. So what frees us from doing that is that our brain also wants rewards, which is happy chemicals. Rewards means something that meets your survival needs. So cortisol creates a full body sense of alarm that lasts for about an hour. That means it feels like the threat is real. In the animal world, this full body sense of alarm allows you to run and save your life. But in the human world, it gives you that feeling that you're really sure something is wrong, even if it's just your own thoughts that are triggering cortisol. Now, because it lasts for an hour, you spend that whole hour looking for more threats. So if you try to get something done, you're only going to see the bad side of that. Whether it's work or people in your life, you're going to see the bad side of things while your cortisol is on. So in my resources and books, I always explain that it's good to have some other activity during that time so you don't trigger more cortisol and get into a spiral. In that hour, you keep looking for evidence of threat. You can end up in a cortisol spiral, but you can learn to stay focused on rewards instead. These are your reward chemicals. I'm going to go a little faster now, just to make sure. So we have inherited these chemicals from earlier mammals, and they evolved to do a job. Now, how do we stimulate them? With neural pathways built from your unique individual past experience. So whatever triggered your dopamine in your past, that's what wired you to look for the good feeling in that way today. Whatever triggered your oxytocin in your past. So for example, the famous example is the smell of your mother's cooking has a very deep association because in your past, your social experiences happened while you were smelling that smell. So your animal brain is connecting all these things. And whether you associate something with a good feeling or a bad feeling, that's a real physical pathway in your brain that turns the chemical on easily. Past cortisol wired you to avoid similar threats in the future. Now, what's so interesting about this? First, there's the good side that our past threats wired us so we don't touch a hot stove twice. We know how to avoid the threats that we experienced in the past. But as you know, we often overdo it. So we're trying so hard to avoid the things that hurt us before that we obsess over them. And what I think is so amazing in this current quarantine, one person is at home worrying about one thing, another person is worrying about something else. So even though we're in the same situation, we're all worrying about it in ways that are shaped by our own past. You are home worrying about things that resemble your past, and I'm at home worrying about mine. Now, you keep looking for threats in order to avoid harm. So we talked about this. I'm going to move on to the happy chemicals. So when the world changes, your old lens is unreliable. So this is what's happening now. We have our usual ways of finding rewards and avoiding threats, but now we have to do it differently. You're not really sure, how do I get rewards? How do I avoid harm? So what can you do? You can build new pathways to stimulate your happy chemicals in new ways. So let's see what it takes. So new pathways to dopamine. So again, a pathway is real connections between neurons, and the electricity in your brain flows easily when you have a connection. And that's why we repeat ourselves and we flow easily to the things that made us feel good before. But when your old patterns don't work, a simple example would be if you went to the office and had certain kinds of interactions with people in the office that helped you get through your day, and now you don't have that. So you have to build a new pathway. What does that mean? You have to turn on your dopamine in a new way by taking steps, taking action toward rewards, and that will feel so good. And the good feeling is a chemical that's like paving on your neural pathways that will wire you to make it easier to do that the next time. Dopamine is the expectation of a reward. So when a monkey wakes up in the morning, it doesn't have a refrigerator, it needs food, and so what does it do? It looks for food, and when it sees something, its dopamine turns on and it says, yes, I can get that. And that's a good feeling. So when you are at home and having all of this free, unstructured time that you have to organize, you look for something that meets your needs and you say, yes, I can get that. And that stimulates a good feeling. Now, it has to meet your needs, and you have to have confidence that you can take steps to reach it. And the way to get that confidence is to divide it into small steps so that each small step will give you some dopamine, and that feels good, which motivates you to take the next step. Dopamine feels good because it releases energy. So the excitement of dopamine is what we think of as the finish line in a race. So if you imagine reaching the finish line and you have a big surge of dopamine and you're all excited. But in fact, how can a person finish a race is because they did a lot of training before the race. So dopamine is what motivated them to do the training because they imagined how good they would feel when it was done. So that's the new challenge we have. You're home imagining how good you will feel when you reach your new goals because you've carefully imagined your goal and how it will meet your needs and what steps you can take to reach it. And so that's like a runner constantly training for the race. So the good feeling of dopamine motivates action to meet needs, and our actions are not always successful. And so here I have a great little video of a monkey failing to succeed. So monkeys try to crack open nuts in order to have the protein and fat inside. And monkeys desperately want these nuts because they don't have fat or protein otherwise in the forest. They only have leaves. So they work very hard. They try again and again and again to crack open these nuts, and they fail most of the time. But if they don't ever succeed, then they don't ever build muscles and they don't ever reproduce. And if they don't reproduce, then their genes die out. So all of the monkeys alive today have succeeded somehow, or their parents have succeeded. So let me show you him failing. Just tries and tries and tries. Now, a bigger monkey is going to steal his tools, and he's not going to fight back because he's afraid that the bigger monkey will bite him, which is how the monkey world works. So, okay, so that's pretty frustrating, and that's how it works. So each step closer to a goal stimulates more dopamine. So divide your work into small tasks and then celebrate after each task. You don't want to work for 5 minutes and then celebrate with junk food for 10 minutes. So you need to structure it in a reasonable way, but you do need to celebrate after each task. Your brain releases the good feeling when you predict a reward. So what happens when life is unpredictable? This is the problem. Another simple example, when people have money that they save and they want to save that money to grow, and they want to be able to predict that their money will grow. But of course, finance is unpredictable, health is unpredictable, everything is unpredictable. Yet our brain is designed to predict. Dopamine is all about prediction. The monkey predicts that it will open the nut eventually. That's why it invests all of the effort. So when I feel frustrated, I tell myself that my brain is designed to predict, and I will keep trying, but I can't predict perfectly, but I do have the power to change my prediction, to try new steps, and to keep trying. And I have the skills to eventually crack open any nut. So focus on a goal you can step toward, and you will enjoy, you will keep enjoying dopamine. Small steps are enough as long as you keep taking them. Now, I always use this photo because this hill is almost vertical, and yet these goats are able to climb up it, and it's amazing that they can do it, but it's just tiny, tiny steps that they take. And many people have, some people have seen videos of these goats, but I think in the Middle East, some of you have seen them in person. So I very much hope to be there someday and to see them in person myself. So we really need many different goals so that we can keep stepping even when one path is blocked. So for example, you may have one goal in your career, another goal in your personal life. You may have one fun goal in your creative life. You may have a long-term career goal and a short-term career goal. Now, most of the time we don't have power over the path because all different obstacles can come up. So as soon as you hit an obstacle and you can't go further right now, you can work on a different goal so that you will always be making progress. So let's talk about new paths to oxytocin. So oxytocin is the pleasure of social trust. When you have two animals that you see grooming each other, when they get that close to each other, they could get bitten. So they don't get close unless they have their oxytocin turned on. But how do they know when to turn on their oxytocin? It's because they trust them, past experience. So your brain has already decided when to turn on the good feeling of trust because past experience told you, I'm safe in this situation and I'm not safe in this situation. Of course, it's more complicated. We try to be a little more safe. We try to take chances and be open-minded. And sometimes in a situation, we trust some people, but not others. So of course, it's complicated. Oxytocin is released when it's safe to lower your guard. So when an animal wants to eat, it goes with the group, and then it feels safe and it can eat because if a predator comes, then others will run. So that's why we are often feeling fear when others feel fear, because that's how our brain is designed to work. And that's why we can end up with so much fear. Now, when you're with a group and you lower your guard, many people are thinking that this animal herd is supposed to support each other all the time, and they get frustrated when other people don't support them. So it's important to know that in the animal world, these animals are actually pushing their way to the center to be safe. They are not sacrificing their lives for other animals. They are focused on their own safety. And when you see that around you, it's very frustrating. But if you get angry at everyone who does that, you will end up angry at everyone, because this is the way the mammal brain works, which is why we have to work so hard to build one-on-one trust with individuals. I groom your fur and you groom my fur, and I will support you and you will support me. And this is very complicated because other people do not necessarily support you when you expect them to. And in the monkey world, this doesn't happen either. Researchers go out there and they watch with their binoculars, and this one grooms with that one, and then they don't support them when a predator comes. So this is all part of life because each brain evolved to promote their own survival. They didn't evolve to promote your survival. So this is why our brain is hard to manage. When you are separated from the herd, your oxytocin falls, and you feel like you're threatened, and that's why you look for another herd to feel safe. When you're home alone, you have to plan ways to stimulate social trust. Animals have conflict. I'm going to move ahead quickly because we're low on time. Create opportunities to build trust, and your brain will reward you with oxytocin. Small steps toward trust will keep are enough. Again, a little bit of oxytocin from small steps is great. And when I say build trust, it's good to build trust with people that you have friction with in small steps. That will help you feel safe and sort of to build a bridge to repair broken trust. You have power over your brain chemicals. When you take these new steps, you will build new neural pathways and you'll feel good. That power is hard to find because we have two brains. And you will build new expectations and build a new pathway in your brain. You will give your electricity a new place to flow. You will expect to feel good, and you'll be glad you did this. So here's my book, and you can check it out on Amazon. Here's my new book, Tame Your Anxiety, and I have a book called The Science of Positivity. Here's my website. I have free videos that you can watch and animations that are funny, and so you can show them to your partners, coworkers, and children even. And I have a free Happy Chemical Jumpstart. If you put in your email at my website, I will. It automatically goes to you. And I'm happy to hear your questions now. And yes, happy to hear your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Loretta. That was a wonderful insight into chemicals that we probably heard of but never thought of them this way. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We'll start with a few questions that people have asked. Okay. So
can I ask you, am I still sharing? Oh, I'm not sharing. Okay.
So this is a question. Yes. No, your screen is stopped. Yes, we can see you now. Okay, so the question is from DTM Harish regarding dopamine. So in Toastmasters, we talk about servant leadership, where a reward is seldom kept in mind. So does that mean we will all end up with low dopamine?
Okay, very good question. So in modern culture, it's taboo to say that you care about the reward. And so that is, the reality is we care about social rewards. As soon as we have enough nuts and enough bananas, our brain is more focused on social rewards. And in fact, that's the way you get more nuts and more bananas in the long run, is by focusing on the rewards of social acceptance and social approval. Now, the chemical serotonin, I didn't have time for that, but that's the one about social approval and respect. So in the modern world, people pretend, and we're taught to pretend, I don't care about myself, I'm only trying to serve others. And when you say that, you get social respect and acceptance, and that's the reward.
Okay. We have another question from DTM Harish regarding oxytocin. Now, in the new normal of social distancing, how to ensure the social contact to build up oxytocin?
So once again, trust is what really triggers it. Now, when you read in the news, they say hugging triggers it, or maybe not in the Middle East, it's not a big hugging thing. I don't agree with the hugging thing anyway, because if you're hugging someone you don't like, I don't think that works. So it's trust. And it's not easy to trust people because it's bad to trust people that you shouldn't trust. So your brain is designed to make good decisions about trust. On the other hand, if you don't trust anyone, then you feel like an animal that's about to be eaten by a lion. So this is the challenge that our mammal brain is designed to embrace. And when you say, what can I do to build trust with that person? What can I do to build trust with that person? And you do something small with this person today, and you do something small with that person tomorrow. And every day you do one small thing, and you feel good after you do it. And then by next month, each of those people will do something small for you. And you will say, wow, I did it. I created a herd, which means a network of informal support. Okay.
Thank you. I see a thumbs up from DTM Harish, so he got his answer.
Thank
Moving
you.
on, we have
Who is that person? I couldn't get the name that you said.
DTM Harish
Oh,
Bilji.
oh, hi. Okay.
In fact, I had a follow-up question, ma'am.
Please go ahead.
If you allow me, can I ask you one follow-up question?
Please
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, in fact, you had indicated that you have to plan many goals so that you have in your armory, you have plan A, B, C, D, and something fails, you switch over to another route and still go toward goals. So are you advocating the multitasking kind of thing, or generally the call is that you stay focused on one particular route and just chase your dreams?
I see what you're saying. Well, there's two different ways to define it. So the way many people use multitasking is that you're doing two things at the same time. So like if you're having dinner with your family and doing emails. So that's not what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is a simple example would be that you have an exciting opportunity and you write an email to someone and then you have to wait for a reply. So while you're waiting for a reply, you might feel like a sense of loss, like I'm not moving forward. So that's the time to shift to another goal. It could be a career goal or it could be a personal goal, depending on whether you've finished your day's work.
Okay, right.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. This question comes from Mohammed Ashik. So his question is regards to dopamine. When one of our current career goal fails, how can we try to compensate the stress or worry without other personal goals being affected?
Oh, good, good. Well, this is why it's so important to have non-career goals. So when a career goal fails, you can also imagine alternative career goals, and also to note that there's satisfaction in life that doesn't come from your career. Now, I know that career is the biggest source of dopamine for many people, so it is very valuable to always have a career goal. So here's the way I use it. Imagine that many people think, okay, this is my career, this is the path, and somebody is blocking my path. And that person feels like they're controlling your life because you can't get to your goal unless that person is is agreeing with you. Instead, imagine that there are many paths to get where you're going. So if that path is blocked, then there are many other ways to have a satisfying career. So one way that you can do in the short run is to think about a new skill that you can build that will advance your career. And when you build that new skill, you are in control because you can just spend, let's say, 10 minutes a day studying for that new skill. And you feel like you're getting closer. And in most of our career world, we don't control. We only have a small bit of control. But when you are building skills, you are in control. And that's a very good way to get dopamine.
We have a request for just to recap on the ways to create oxytocin.
Okay. Oh, a recap on the ways to create oxytocin. Okay, so in the animal world, the idea is that you want to be with a herd, a group, and they learn from when they're young, this is my group, they accept me, and therefore I'm safe. But they're also very competitive in the group. They fight over food, which is more of the serotonin thing that I didn't have time for. So oxytocin circuits are built from your past. So when you were young, you made decisions about when you trust and when you don't trust. It was not conscious decisions. It was when, let's say you were in high school and when someone helped you, and when someone did not help you. That built your pathways that said, I trust this kind of person or this kind of situation, and I don't trust that. So you are now looking for situations that are similar to whatever made you trust when you were a teenager. And that's why we all repeat ourselves and we sort of limit ourselves. So you are going out and trusting the same old kind of people and not trusting the same old kind of people. So what I'm suggesting is that you can notice that, and then you can maybe broaden it a little bit with small steps so that you can build trust with more people, or repair trust where you had bad will with someone in small steps. I don't mean to be nice to someone who's bad to you, but to be a little bit more open to someone that you don't trust, and see whether you can feel safer and safer.
Moving on, we have a question from Kalpana Arvind. Now, some children get very upset very soon, and it's difficult to bring them back to a happy mode to work on their studies. Now, how do we increase their dopamine levels?
You know, this was a huge problem for me when my children were young, so I really sympathize. And it's very sad for me because I didn't learn any of this until my kids were grown. I went looking for this information because of that exact experience. So I really relate to how hard it is. One thing that has been so helpful for me is I studied animal training. When a person has a dog, how do they train the dog? Because, or if you ever watch an animal show and animals trained to do tricks, how do they train animals to do tricks? It's the same thing, because the animal brain is what's causing your child to get upset. And words do not help once they're, don't help a lot once they're upset. So this is why it's such a challenge to build a new pathway in their brain that has confidence in skills. Now, the sad truth is that when your child explodes doing homework, they are getting a reward from that. And that's why they do it. Their brain learned in the past that if you get upset, maybe you won't have to do the work, maybe you'll get a hug, maybe you'll get to stop working sooner, or sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's just giving up because they don't know how to take the next step. So the first step is 1 minute of calm, and then 1 minute of success, and then 1 minute of reward. So let's say 3 minutes. So when they're upset, 1 minute of what can I do to calm myself? Put on a timer, and they should do something to calm themselves that they really like. Don't force them to do something you like, but let them do something they like for 1 minute. Then for 1 minute, let them have success. Let them do a task, whatever they're working on, only 1 minute of it, so that they don't feel like this is a huge hopeless problem. And let them have 1 minute of success. Maybe it will take 10 minutes to actually get to have 1 minute of success, but explain that that's the goal. And then let them have like a 1 minute celebration. So this will reward them, and their animal brain will say, I can feel good by doing work. And they won't even be like a conscious thing. It's just, oh, it will feel good. Okay.
That's a great advice. We have a question from Toastmaster Anushri Sharma. When so much is already imprinted on our brains due to our past, in that time, how can we handle our oxytocin?
Yes. That is the challenge of life. And the first step is awareness. So most people don't even have the awareness that their responses are just an old pathway. Now, the most famous example of this is there was a novel written in France 100 years ago. It was called Remembrance of Things Past by Marcel Proust. And he walks into a bakery and he smells a certain cookie. And the smell of that cookie created a whole memory of when he was a child and his nurse brought him to buy cookies and all of the experiences. So our whole brain is wired in childhood. And everybody you know is looking at the world through their childhood brain. And you are looking at the world through your childhood brain. So the more we can see that and say, oh, now I understand why I'm having this reaction, because this situation is so similar to the one I had to the experience when I was a child and this happened and that happened. I'll give you a simple example. Today, excuse me, we hear a lot of advice on the internet about how to be happy, and it doesn't all, resonate with me. So they tell you that if you go in nature, you will be happy. But it's complicated. Many people, when they go walk in the park, and they just worry while they're walking in the park. So when I was a child, let's just say, long story short, my family went to a vacation in nature and there was a lot of conflict. So my brain built a bad association about going on a nature trip with people. And so everyone, if you think about it, you can figure out the bad associations of your past and learn to notice when you are projecting that onto new situations.
Okay, great. We have a question from Subhashri. So is there any chemical more or less causing autism, especially adult autism, and given that the growing numbers in the society related to this?
Yeah, I have to say that I do not know when it comes to, there's a continuum of how much things are caused from a real physical cause versus something that's just learned and we can relearn. And I don't know for each individual thing. But when I talked about animal training, guess who I learned that from? Is the autism people, the people who they're called behaviorists, some kind of behavior experts. And they learn about animal training and they help people with autism, children with autism, to build new skills. So I don't know the cause, but the solution is always to build new pathways. No matter what your problem is, the only way you can have a new solution is to repeat a new behavior by feeding your brain a new experience. And it will not feel good in the beginning, but soon the happy chemicals will start to flow because you will have built the connection. So but I can't speak to the cause, actually.
Okay, that's great. So I think we had one more question from our DD, Robin Anand. Robin, you can ask the question directly, Vidya. Robin, are you here?
Yeah, I am here. I didn't have actually a question, but...
Okay, saw your raised hand.
No.
There are questions in the chat. Do you want to...
Other questions? So there are a couple of questions related to workplace. Maybe I can combine a few of them to give it a question. So basically the questions are about if you have a manager who tries to do things behind your back or a bully in your team who does things like that. How do you continue to trust them? Or, is it better to avoid the bully altogether or to continue living under threat?
Very good question. And again, very close to my heart. I had frustrations myself. And so here's the thing. First, what many people do is you focus on building an ally at work. So find someone who you do trust. And although the situation with the person you don't trust is frustrating, that at least you give yourself a way to calm yourself down. Because if you don't, you may exaggerate the situation with your boss and make it worse than it is. And you think it's all that person, but really you are contributing it. So you need to find a way to give yourself that safe feeling. Now, separate from that, you can build bridges with your boss and say, I am frustrated with this person. I have a right to my own reactions, and yet I'm going to find a way to connect with this person. So a simple example would be, let's just say that when I buy coffee, that they like the same kind of coffee that I like, and we talk about coffee. And then you start with little things that you have in common, the humanity that you both have, and it helps to, again, lower the tension, because remember that they are also a mammal and they are also competitive. Again, the serotonin part of this, the competitiveness that people have, is explained in all of my books and on my website. So when you see your boss as a competitive mammal and you are a competitive mammal, then you can remember that this is just a chemical that I'm having, and I'm going to metabolize it in an hour, but right now I can't stand that person, so I'm going to focus on something else.
Thank you, Dr. Loretta. Now, I know we are out of time, so unfortunately we won't be able to answer all the questions that are here, but we had a wonderful time learning from you, and it was an eye-opener to think a different perspective of how we look at our problems. Thank you for that. Can I request all our members now to quickly switch on your cameras, unmute yourself, and give Dr. Loretta a huge round of applause.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. It was a pleasure. So nice to meet you, and keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Definitely. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Can we request everybody to please switch on your cameras so we can have a quick group picture as well before we move on to our next section?
I think it's someone has blocked the camera. The co-host has to open it.
Can we have some big smiles there, please?
I think we're done. Yes. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to be the moderator for this session. It was a wonderful session, and handing over to our wonderful, dynamic PD Vinod Pankar.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Pragnya, for that wonderful introduction and for conducting the session so smoothly and getting the maximum knowledge out of Dr. Loretta. We were so happy. The questions were so relevant, and each and every one, I believe, like what you said, could connect to the questions. Such simply answered by Dr. Loretta. Okay, so now it is the time for our second superstar, the third superstar actually, to come up on the stage, on the screen. So before introducing her, let me tell you something about her. Stephanie Vermeulen, also called Steph. Now, Steph inspires people to develop a healthy appetite for what she terms the accelerating disruptive revolution. She is a 3-time published author. She has been a leading pioneer in the field of emotional intelligence for 2 decades. And her boundless energy makes her an acclaimed speaker and facilitator. Steph takes her responsibility seriously to keep up to date with inspiring breakthroughs about the human brain. And even though her work is rooted in science, she emphasizes the practical application of personal intelligence, which is emotional intelligence plus IQ, a field that she has coined. Steph was one of the first practitioners to introduce the practical application of EQ into her seminars in 1996. And her best-selling book, EQ, Emotional Intelligence for Everyone, followed in 1999. She is an entrepreneur who develops material for both business and public applications. She has a passion for teaching people to grow into their potential and give insight into mental and emotional habit that inhibit progress while providing tools for behavioral change. Steph teaches people to maintain their sanity during changing times and make them hungry to create their future. If you want people to think and behave differently, inject a dose of her inspiring energy into the minds of audience at your next conference, workshop, or seminar. She is an amazing speaker, and she was one of the first person to join our meetings, and she's calmly and patiently listening to each and everything that is happening. And we came to know that she is also a Toastmaster. She was a Toastmaster. She completed her CTM, 10 speeches. As a person who study emotions and give training on emotional intelligence, I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Steph. It is my privilege and honor to introduce the author and expert on emotional intelligence, Steph. Steph, can I have you on screen, please?
Can you see me, Vinod? Thank you.
Yes, I can see you.
And you can
Over
hear
to
me.
you. Over to you. I can hear you and I can see you. Over to you.
And thank you very much for such a generous introduction. I really appreciate it. I just want to make sure you can now see my slides instead of me.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Right, I don't know why I've pushed share screen. Is there any reason? Hello?
Maybe we'll just wait for one more second.
Okie dokes. So,
can you just stop sharing and try sharing again?
okay. And we had such a good system going when we practiced. And, as always, that okay, I'm not able to get out of this screen. Hold, there we go. Okie dokes. So,
yes, now it started.
Okay, I just need to get to presenter mode and. All right, so you can now, you've got my slides instead of me, have you?
Yes.
Perfect, excellent, thank you very much. And thank you for the ones to our leading with emotional intelligence. We know from the research that was done on emotional intelligence by people like Daniel Goleman that it is the most important criteria in terms of leadership. And the reason that this is so is because we have to connect with each other. And everything you will see, and from Dr. Loretta, she talked a lot about trust, and the basis of my presentation is also about the importance of being able to trust one another. Now, lots changed since I published this first book. This first book was published in 1999. Before there were MRIs, before there was the technology, before there was the findings of neuroscience. And so now we talk about the subject of my next book is personal intelligence, because we're talking about EQ plus neuroscience, and we're also now talking about the importance of our nervous system, which is what Dr. Stephen Porges called polyvagal thinking or therapy in terms of working with people. So both of these books, the EQ book is old, obviously published in 1999, historically, lots of psychological research. And the personal intelligence book is talking about the more modern world in terms of the neuroscience, the brain plasticity, etc. And this one is available on Amazon and Kindle also, in case you, like us, may still be in lockdown. So one of the most important criteria, which Dr. Loretta also spoke about, is that the only reason that we have a brain and a nervous system, the primary reason, is to keep us safe as we navigate our path through this earth. Now, why is safety so important? It's so important because the genes demand that we keep ourselves safe enough until we procreate. Once you've procreated, or if you've chosen not to procreate, the genes then take you on the slow decline, which is called aging, until we die. And obviously that is because the genes really don't have much use for us any longer. So the genes take us on this march through our early life to make sure that we keep sufficiently safe to be able to procreate the genetic material, which is very much the mammalian kind of nature of who we are as human beings. And this safety at work, obviously, it's not any longer so much about our physical safety, it's a lot about our psychological safety. How much do we trust the people that we are working with? Will they be there for us if need be? Can we collaborate with them? Because if we can't, if we don't trust people, it's going to be almost impossible to collaborate. So psychological safety at work is the key area, and it's one of the reasons that Google has done much research into the concept of psychological safety, primarily because this is what makes us creative. If we're not feeling safe, it's very difficult to collaborate and to put ourselves on the line in terms of newness, innovation, etc., all of the things that get our good brain chemistry going. So safety is critical, and this is where love, safety, and trust are absolutely interlinked for us as human beings in terms of our mammalian nature. Now, when I'm talking about love, I'm not talking necessarily about romantic love, although that will definitely get your chemicals going. Romantic love makes us crazy enough to fall in love with somebody, enough to reproduce and have offspring. But love here is about really loving life. So loving this adventure called life. Even things like COVID. COVID has disrupted absolutely everything, and very few people saw this coming. I, for one, certainly didn't. So many of the futurists, etc., are talking about how we just didn't see COVID coming at all. But we can look at COVID as to what is it changing. If we really love this process of what is it throwing up? I know in my part of the world, it's throwing up the reality of inequality. And the South Africa is one of the most unequal countries in the world. And that's really showing it up, and it's not benefiting anybody. It doesn't benefit the privileged, and it doesn't benefit the underprivileged when you've got this level of inequality. So it's throwing up also all sorts of opportunities. I wouldn't be talking to you from my home in Johannesburg had the COVID issue not happened. So it's offering plenty new ways of looking at things and doing things that can make us feel happy and comfortable as human beings. So what we're really looking at is, do we survive? And if our brain chemistry is all the negative brain chemistries, we're just in survival mode. And it's okay to be there, because it says to us, right, what do we need to do to be able to thrive? What are the new opportunities that we can take advantage of? And this is where we start looking at our social engagement system, which is called the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve is the main nerve that runs through our body. It's our parasympathetic nervous system, our sympathetic nervous system, and it literally is neck down. So our brain is not involved in so many of the reactions. What Dr. Loretta was talking about when she talked about that our reactions were programmed when we were very young, and we keep recreating those circumstances. Now, the interesting thing about lockdown, what it's shown up, is even for introverts like me who like my own company. Both my husband and I are introverts, so being homebodies, working from home, really for us is quite easy. We've got enough food, we feel secure, and so our nervous system can relax into this. But each of our nervous system, my nervous system needs your nervous system. And this is what the African system of Ubuntu is all about. I only know who I am because of you. As we reflect off each other, that's how I get to learn who I am as a human being. And it's what makes solitary confinement so absolutely punitive for us as human beings, to try and manage ourselves in solitary confinement for any length of time, we start to go crazy because we're not bouncing off anybody else. We've got no one who can make us feel like we belong as human beings. So this is really what gets our emotions going, and the emotions literally are considered to be by scientists who work with things like molecules of emotion, as the late Dr. Candace Pert. She talked about that the brain chemicals, the neurotransmitters that live in our brain, they run the traffic when they start activating the traffic between our thinking brain and our body. And these we call hormones when they operate in our body. And when the traffic is running smoothly, when everything is running and we're calm and our nervous system is not being activated in any way, we call this sensation feeling happy or feeling comfortable or feeling content or feeling relaxed. That easy situation, which is lovely when we're with other people, when we're with what we call our tribe, the people who we really feel like we belong with. This is when we feel at our very best, and it means the traffic is running smoothly. Now, something, let me say that lots of emotional intelligence practitioners talk about that emotions are data, emotions are messages, emotions are telling me the truth about what's going on in my life. Am I happy and am I unhappy? Which is a really good starting place, because if I'm happy, that's fine, keep going, just keep moving forward. If I'm unhappy, what is wrong? Something needs to change. And it's in that something needs to change that I can get lots of clues about how to keep updating my life, how to keep updating my mind. What newness do I need? Now, something that is really important for us to be aware of, this vagus nerve connects everything, and it connects to the muscles in our face via our ear. And it connects then to all of the muscles in our face. And so literally we are wearing our nervous system on our faces. And this is how we communicate our data with one another, is via the muscles in our face that produce body language, or the muscles in our face that produce our facial expressions. When I'm excited or enthusiastic, my face looks completely different from if I'm really angry, or if I'm afraid something's wrong and I need to respond to that. So we're reading each other all the time, and we're reading each other's body language all the time to assess, am I safe? As Dr. Loretta said, it's about building trust all the time. And our faces look quite different when we are relaxed and comfortable with each other. They're saying, written all over it, yes, I can trust you. Yes, we are comfortable. Yes, we are having a good time together. Now, something that very few people know or realize is the most validating thing we can do for another human being is to listen. Now, how often in management do we listen? How often in leadership do we listen? How often when we're micromanaging do we tell? How often when we're selling do we tell rather than do we listen to the needs of somebody? Now, this is really why therapy works, because what are we doing with our therapist? We are paying the person to listen to us. A therapist who doesn't listen to you is probably somebody that you won't go back to. Now, when Dr. Loretta was talking about recreating our experiences, our life experience is literally imprinted on our nervous system, which is why some of the funnier people in America are talking about what happens in your vagus nerve literally stays in your vagus nerve. And we need to be aware of how we are recreating these situations and when we are projecting our circumstances from our past into our future or into our current circumstances. And this is what Dr. Stephen Porges talks about as neuroception. That neuroception is our nervous system scanning constantly. Am I safe? Am I not safe? Am I safe? So we know perception is what our brain is doing or our mind is doing, but neuroception is what our body is doing and how our body is reacting and responding. Now, this is what we would have in the past called gut feel. And our gut feeling now has an explanation in terms of the vagus nerve and what our vagus nerve is doing, which is why many of the theorists are now talking about that our body is our subconscious mind. So let's take a look at how does all of this work together? What does it mean to us? How do we respond to this? If we look at our nervous system virtually as a ladder, so we go up and down this ladder all day long, depending on our mood, what's happening, who's pushing our buttons, which is what we call our neuroception, is how our buttons are being pushed or what's triggering us. So the top zone is when we feel like we're belonging. This is where love, safety, and trust comes in. This is where oxytocin comes in, the chemical oxytocin. This is where serotonin comes in. It gives us the feeling that I'm really comfortable, I belong here. These are my people. And this is what Ubuntu is telling us all the time, the African system of Ubuntu, the social system. It's a safe zone. It's a calm zone. Nothing is threatening me. I'm feeling at my best. I'm feeling at my most comfortable. But should something happen, I start to mobilize. This could be neuroception, for example. I'm alerted to something in my environment doesn't feel right, doesn't feel okay. So I start to get active and I start to mobilize. And this is when we feel like we're in danger. It's like the impala or the gazelle would respond to a lion. And Dr. Loretta was talking a lot about being in nature. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I've literally have seen the gazelles come right close to the lions and far too close for comfort. You're going, you look behind you, look behind you. But we can see when a gazelle is alerted because they can see that those lions they've got full tummies. They really are not in a threat at all. And the gazelles will quite comfortably pass behind them. Once a lion starts to mobilize, then things change and then things are very different. So for us as human beings, this puts us into our fight or flight. Do I need to fight the threat? Do I need to run away? And if we can't do either of those things, where we're in a situation where we are being, one of the questions earlier was about being bullied, we try and appease. And this is what happens to people in abusive relationships, that they try and appease and appease and appease simply to keep themselves safe, until you get into the habit of your entire relationship is based on you trying to appease somebody else. When we can't fight, flight, or we can't run away, we can't appease the person, we just give up. And here is where we're dealing with cortisol, we're dealing with our worst feelings in terms of the threat, and we literally are like the deer in the headlights. We absolutely freeze because we don't know what else to do in a collapsed and in an immobilized state. Now, what's interesting here to me is that we talked about listening is the most important way we can validate or be validated by other people. When we are in this bottom zone, we literally are so collapsed that we cannot hear what the other person is saying. It's not that we're not choosing to. The mechanisms in our ear that feed our brain switch off completely. So we can see somebody maybe spitting their anger at us, and that's all we can do is see them, but we cannot hear a word that they are saying. Something else that is interesting that happens here, which is why people stay in abusive situations, is because our pain threshold goes up. So that if we are being attacked, we actually don't feel it to the same degree as we would if we were in a much calmer state. So our system is very self-protective in terms of our behavior. And what we do in this completely collapsed state is we just numb out and we just switch off the world. It's that deer in the headlights. I'm so immobilized, I don't know what else to do. So here at the top, we see, I feel connected, I feel safe, I feel calm, love, safety, trust all of the time. And this is our calm zone where we feel really connected. It's us humans at our very best. The next is I'm scared, something's not okay. The chemistry, our brain chemistry, we're quite different here. This is when we start to secrete cortisol and we're on hyper alert all the time. And at the bottom is I just can't cope anymore, and we numb out completely. Now, when we are in this numbed out state or in the danger zone, we're looking very much at me, and it's all about me, that inward state, which is why people talk about things like Facebook or social media, because we're often in either the state of not feeling okay, or I'm collapsed, or feeling that collapsed state where I'm feeling my vulnerability and I'm maybe ashamed. It's the not good enough. It's all of those horrible feelings. And we can literally go up and down this ladder all day long. But when we're in that inward state, it's difficult to collaborate, because here you'll see that our inward state forces us to be competitive. And when we are competing, it's difficult to trust that somebody else will have my back. So during that, the middle rung and the bottom rung, that's when our almost corporate politics plays in. It's when we're backstabbing other people to fight and get our way to the top. And it's why often people who reach the top, and there's some world leaders who we won't mention any names because otherwise I lose points for Toastmasters, but there's some world leaders who are in this state of narcissism and competitive. It's all about me, and it's a very dangerous state for world leaders to be in. When we're at the top zone, that's when we collaborate. That's when love, safety, trust, I can be at my best. I'm energized. I've got the great ideas. It's my compassion is right here in the top zone. So it's where we feel at our most connected and in this green zone. So if you look at it almost like a traffic light, you've got the green zone, go, collaborate, let's work this together. Me feeling at my best, my most energized, my most inspired. The middle zone is the orange zone, which is the danger, where our brain chemistry starts to change, our hormones start to change. We're not feeling okay. If that persists for too long, we get into a state of complete collapse. Now, if we're in this state of complete collapse, it's where we go into self-protection. And it's not a bad thing that it feels horrible and it feels utterly vile if it's gone on for too long. But sometimes it forces us, when we're fed up enough with what's going on, it forces us to make better decisions about our lives. And here is when we can get great insight. And sometimes when we get that great insight, it's called the aha moment. And during those aha moments, it can springboard us right into the green zone again, where we feel energized once more if we keep on, in terms of keep maintaining the new decisions that we've made. So all of the time we're up and down this ladder. And if we look at what our nervous system is doing, then what is our thinking brain doing? Our nervous system is psychology, emotions, physical. Our nervous system is just responding all the time to the stimulus outside in the world. This is where collaboration, connection, etc., on the nervous system side. So what is the thinking brain doing if all of this is neck down? The thinking brain is literally making up stories to try and explain what is going on in the rest of our system. I'm feeling great, keep going. I'm not feeling so good, what's going on? And your thinking brain doesn't mind whether those stories are the truth or whether they are not. So we think we're rational human beings, but we are anything but rational. It's why, I don't know in your part of the world, but certainly in mine, we are awash in conspiracy theories right now, because literally the brain is making up stories, and conspiracy theories, because they're not based on the truth, can fill in gaps that we go, oh, that makes sense, that yes, Bill Gates is trying to track us all in the world, or whatever the latest conspiracy theory is. So our thinking brain can either make up stories that are inspirational, creative, using our imagination, which gives us more energy, or can make us stories about why we're not good enough, why it's not okay, why we really do need to be afraid, like the conspiracy theories that are abounding at the moment. So this is where our competition comes in, and this is when we start needing to protect ourselves. So if you are feeling this, then stay off social media, stay off all of this conspiracy theories, etc., that really don't have any basis in truth, but they're very entertaining for the mind because they can fill in the gaps. And this is, excuse me, what we're looking at is this old-fashioned board game of snakes and ladders. So we're going along and life seems to be fine, and suddenly COVID hits us, and boom, we go from the top of the ladder, we can go all the way down through the various snakes and up and down and up and down. But so we just need to know, the important thing is knowing where we are, and knowing where we are in terms of the ladder and what we are up to. So all of our behavior is adaptive. We go up the ladder if we're feeling rotten, or we aim to go up the ladder where we're feeling rotten, or we go down through the snakes, and the snakes are up and down we go. So all behavior is adaptive. Then if we look at motivation, we talked about the middle rung and the bottom rung is competitive. And this competitiveness, etc., is about me in terms of inward. Now, when that comes to motivation, it motivates us to move away from things that we don't like or don't want. And the only time that we move towards creating those goals that Dr. Loretta talked about is we start moving towards those goals in the top zone. So when we are feeling great and when we are really motivated, that's when we can start moving outwards, out into the world rather than the me. And this is why it is all based on trust. So cooperation, connection, collaboration, everything is based on do I trust? And how much time do we spend in leadership? We're leading people into the future, that I trust that you have the intelligence to drive this project. I trust that you have the determination, etc. I trust you, you can trust me, I've got your back. How many times do we have each other's back when it comes to leading through difficult times such as this, least of all during leading through impossible times as before, even before the crisis happened. So remember that listening is something that is one of the most important skills in terms of validating other people. And if you just make one change in your behavior, and that is to listen to people, that you will find that your leadership skills improve dramatically. And truly listen to them in a way of trying to understand what is it that you are getting at. Now, in terms of what our nervous system needs, the screen looks a little bit complicated, but it is, for me, why it is important is these are the 14 chapters of the book called Everyday Ubuntu by Desmond Tutu's granddaughter who wrote the book. And so these many social systems in our world, every social system in the world, social systems that exist in Asia, in Africa, are all about collaboration. It's only in the Western world that we have this competitive nature, and we've aimed then to take that into the rest of the world. And it has really, it doesn't do us any good as human beings, because this competitive nature brings out the worst in us, or can bring out the worst in us. So if we look at what Maya Angelou said, that people will forget what we said and they forget what we did, but nobody forgets how we made them feel. So what are the people that you are interacting with currently, with the people that you are collaborating with, the people in your teams, the people that report into you, the people you report into, your families, your extended families? How do you make them feel when they are in your presence? Because that's much more important than anything that we could say that is smart or clever or do, unless that is about giving to other people. So when we talk about the listening and the importance of listening, I always say it doesn't say much for us speakers who are so used to blah, blah, blahing, but I do want to thank you for your ears. I really appreciate it, and happy to take questions.
Thank you very much, Steph. A big round of applause, everyone.
Thank you, Vinod.
That was really heart touching, and every word that you said now making sense. And being a student of emotions, I heard the talk of the author by Everyday Ubuntu, and I am a very firm believer in Everyday Ubuntu. I am because you are. That is the concept. Thank you very much, Steph. That is my personal philosophy in life. Okay, so getting to questions, we have got some interesting questions and I'm looking for more questions. Let me start with one of mine. You spoke about the deer and headlight when people get immobilized.
Yes.
At present, many individuals and many business are in that situation.
Yes.
What advice, practical advice, steps they can take, like 1, 2, 3, that they can get out of it? Or because I feel that they can be there for a week or a year also. How fast can they get out from there?
All right, something that I've just was concerned about time. When we're in the green zone, we look at what gives our life its deepest meaning. So when we are now in the situation with COVID, where everything has changed, that we can't look at going back to what was, because that's never going to be the same again. We're not even looking at what's called the new normal. We're looking at what is called the next normal. Now, how can I make a difference in the next normal? Now, all of us can do something. And while we focused on doing something that takes us into the green zone, where we can then be mobilized and motivated to get out and do. There's lots of people are talking about that the big corporations are not going to no longer be producers. What we're going to be looking at is artisanal. So that instead of a factory producing thousands of tables, that it will be the thing we treasure most in our home is the table that was made by an individual somewhere. So there's lots of talk, and from designers actually, that are talking about what can we all do. Now, the most important thing for all of us is to just get through this difficulty during lockdown, etc., where we can't be social, our social engagement system is suffering, is how can I make a difference to somebody today? Just one person. When I make a difference to somebody, it changes my brain chemicals. And we don't know the impact it's going to have on that person. So just looking at how can I make a difference? We've talked for so long about capitalism with a conscience and all sorts of things, that capitalism itself needs to change. Well, what are we doing as businesses to change that? Because it will be up to all of us to create this new world, rather than try and go back to an old world where inequality is rampant. For me, it's just not okay that a handful of people have more money than most countries in the world. What is the point of this if we can't all thrive? So it's looking at what can I do? How can I make a difference? As long as we are making a difference, no matter what's happening in our lives, we are in that green zone where we can collaborate with others to also make a difference. So let's each one of us do something to make a difference, just to one other person every day, to make ourselves feel better through this. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yeah, makes sense. And I think many of the people are doing that nowadays.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you. The other question is from DD Robin. How do you rate Toastmasters as an organization which gives us a community where you can trust others? And you have been a Toastmasters.
I have been a Toastmaster. And I think that we were having a discussion before we actually went online. And I think Toastmasters is one of the best places to learn one's craft if you want to be a speaker. That it's very supportive, all of the feedback, the evaluation, all of that, and you can speak at every meeting if you choose to. So whenever people ask me, should they go on this presentation skills course or learn how do you learn to be a speaker, it's always Toastmasters that I recommend, because this is the easiest way to learn one's craft as a speaker. and most importantly, to get comfortable in an environment that you can trust. Because yes, Toastmasters is competitive, but it's more collaborative, as all of us want each other to succeed in this. It's not just about me. So yes, I would rate Toastmasters highly in terms of an organization one can trust.
Thank you very much. One more question. How does voluntary solitude for deep meditation helps on building EQ? I think the question is, does meditation helps?
Yes, that if we look at what our nervous system does, that our nervous system is responding constantly, and there's not too much of it that we can control. What we can control is our breath. So part of meditation is working with your breath and controlling your breath. Now, a lot of the pranayama breathing is actually about the long out breaths, where you actually are focusing on your breath through meditation to calm your nervous system. So when we can calm our nervous system, we change the nature of the chemicals in our body. And remember, your emotions are just chemical messengers, data that is running between your thinking brain and your body. So mindfulness, mindfulness, everybody's talking about this new thing called mindfulness, this new, very ancient, old, wise wisdom called mindfulness, is very helpful in terms of doing things that you can do to calm oneself so that you can stay as much as possible in that top green zone. So breathing exercises, mindfulness, meditation. I'm not a brilliant meditator, but I do what I call moving meditation. So I go for very long walks every day out in the sunshine, and that to me is very calming in terms of, and some people like to call that a moving meditation as opposed to a meditation. It's different forms of meditation. So whatever does it for you in terms of calming your system is what's important, because that will change how you feel, which will change the data coming at you, which is the emotions are messages. Now, in all of my books, in the personal intelligence, there's an emotional dictionary at the back of the book that gives you the meaning of this data. So if I'm angry, it just means I'm not getting my own way. So to carry on being angry and scream and shout and lose my temper, it's not going to help me get my own way. What can I do? Maybe I can negotiate. So if we can look at the data and we can work with the messages, what is it telling me and what do I need to do? But mostly if we're in that middle, or certainly in the collapsed rung, we need to calm our nervous system, and that's where meditation is really helpful.
Does journaling helps? That was one more question that a participant asked.
Journaling can help because you're getting it out of your system. So quite a lot of people like to journal when they're angry, for example, just write, and it gets it out of your system. But journaling can help if you are writing down your thoughts, because just stringing them into a sentence or formulating them into a sentence will help focus on, okay, what is going on inside of me? How am I feeling? Which is mostly what we ignore. So we ignore how we're feeling, which means we have to ignore our brain chemicals, because that's all part of how we're feeling. That's what brain chemicals do. They let us know when we need to alert, for example, get mobilized.
So journaling does help. Thank you.
Journaling can certainly help, yes. Anything that calms the nervous system.
Okay. Is there a possibility that our words are in the green zone, but our body language is in the red zone? And can this be sensed by the receiver?
Most definitely. Lots of people will say things like, I'm not angry at all, but you can even in their tone of voice. So our tone of voice is about 37%, 38% of our nonverbals. And all of that is because of the muscles in our face are connected to our vagus nerve. So we can't pretend, and we can't pretend that what we're feeling is not what's showing on our faces, because we're too good at reading one another all the time. So yes, our words can pretend that it's okay. But for example, if you phone somebody, sometimes when we would phone our mothers, for example, we say, hi, Mom, how are you? I'm fine. What does that tell you? I'm definitely not fine and don't buy into it. So our words say, okay, we can think that our words are saying one thing, but it's our nervous system. Remember, that's how we connect with each other. Social engagement system to social engagement system. And when we feel comfortable, our words and our body language match. That's how we know when somebody's telling the truth. If somebody's not telling the truth, it's their words and what their body language is doing don't match.
Okay, thank you. Do we skip rungs on this ladder at times? This was one of the questions. Yeah.
It's an interesting question because the way the vagus nerve works is we literally go through the middle zone and back up again. But sometimes we can, or let me put it this way, the mobilization through the middle zone, once we're at the bottom, we get the aha moment and it catapults us, what feels like, catapults us up into the green zone. What's actually happening is it's mobilizing us, and that middle zone can be quite productive. We can make success our best revenge, for example. If somebody said, you will never do that, that'll never work, etc., we make success our best revenge, and that can catapult us up into the green zone. So we may move through it in an instant, but we keep going up and down, but it doesn't matter that which part we're going through, as long as we know where we are and what triggers us in the middle, the orange zone, and what triggers the red zone. And then we know what to do to get out of it, to get ourselves back into the green zone. So remember, each zone has a purpose. The bottom zone means I get reflective. What's wrong in my life? Something's not working. I keep getting here. I'm exhausted. Why am I exhausted? We then get to maybe an insight and, okay, yes, I need to change that. Or we fed up in the middle zone, absolutely fed up in the middle zone. So what do I need to change to get moving again? And so each zone has that productive, makes us productive. Each zone also has benefits. When we're in the green zone, the benefits are obvious, but the downside is when we're happy and successful, we're not self-reflective. And that's fine. We don't need to be when we're there. But it's that comfort zone that may become too much of a comfort zone, that then you've been comfortable for a long time and then suddenly you plunged into those middle zones. So just knowing where we are, why we are there, and that works then with the brain chemistry that Dr. Loretta was talking about. They both work together.
Okay. Next question. This is something that I would like to ask in terms of, you said about stimulus. We can't change the stimulus that come because that is external.
Yes.
But you said that when we are responding, we associate a story with it, means
Yes.
the stimulus. So how can we effectively manage our stories?
That to know that our stories are actually not the truth, that we made them up as explanations to deal with what was happening at the time. Now, what I mean by that, a story that I made up when I was 5 doesn't really help me now that I'm in my 60s. But if we're not aware of our stories and we're not aware of that is a story that explained what was happening to me when I started school, for example. And it doesn't have to still be a relevant story today. So to know that our stories are stories that are, how we try and understand ourselves, that the bottom rung is what Dr. Brené Brown would talk about. The psychologist talks a lot about shame. And she would talk about that either I'm not good enough. Now, is it true? I don't know whether it's true that I'm not good enough. I believe that story, and maybe I've had a theme of that story throughout my life, but I can also prove where it's not true. So I can also show you where I have been good enough. So it's these sorts of things that we need to use our thinking mind to challenge those stories. Are they really true? I've believed that, I've felt it, I've suffered as a result of. In the same way, when I'm making up a story, let's say I'm writing a novel, is that true? No. but it may be credible because it's got all the elements that need to be there. So do our bad stories. But a bad story I made up to explain something when I was younger doesn't necessarily have to be true today, unless we've done something that is really diabolical, etc., and we've landed up in prison for the rest of our lives, or if we've murdered somebody or something. That's different. Because that is then that's a social punishment for breaking a contract, a social contract. But for me to explain my life and who I am through stories from long ago as to how I explained it to myself then is seldom helpful if it's negative.
Okay, so we can change our stories, and we
can
can fake stories also.
We fake a lot of stories. Most stories are fake. So was it true then? No, probably not. So stories are just interpretations of what's going on right now. And so none of them are true, because if we look at even our thinking brain in terms of certainty, there's no such thing. Neuroscience doesn't know any such thing in terms of certainty. What we feel that we know, we think is certain. And that's what we use when we have these need to be right arguments, when we write in that orange zone. I'm right, you're right, and we start having a boxing match with each other. We think that what we know is certain, but actually it's just a feeling of knowing rather than a certainty that this is absolutely right. So our brain plasticity, the way that the brain functions, the way that the brain works, we used to think that my personality was fixed. That's just simply the story that I've always told myself. That can be, I keep my story fixed, or many of us do. But that story may not be true about me at all, because all neuroscience is prepared to say is that who we are is what our neurons are up to. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, what my neurons are up to, what your neurons are up to, all of that can change.
Wow. Last question. This is by a Toastmasters asking that when I go for a table topic, why do I shiver?
Yes.
How can you can get it from the best student? Advise us.
So the dreaded table topic, what we used to call the impromptu, is that what
Yes.
you're referring to?
Yes.
So the first thing that happens is our system goes into shock. What am I going to say? And remember, we know from Toastmasters that as soon as we go into shock, we stop breathing. So what do we teach new people who are doing their icebreaker or whatever it is? Breathe your way through it. So mostly what we also forget is to get into and stay in the green zone is when we're laughing and having fun. So with a table topic is lots of Toastmasters that were in the various clubs that I had gone to or had attended would have a funny story that they had up their sleeve. And whatever the table topic was, then they would tell the funny story and make it fit. So it's the fake it till you make it, that kind of notion. And if you use humor, immediately our nervous system calms down. So the dreaded table topic, the dreaded impromptu, you get a piece of paper and on it is a word and you go, oh, what am I going to say? And our system then goes into the red or the deer in the headlight zone. Instead of to just breathe, use that out breath, the long out breath for a second or two, and then just the talking can continue. But if you've got those stories up your sleeve, I always say that I suspect that's what Churchill did. I don't think that he was spontaneously witty. I think he thought things and his timing was impeccable, that he would then trot out that particular saying at that moment, which everybody thought was spontaneous. I doubt it. We can do the same as Toastmasters. Just have a few stories that you could then work into whatever the table topic is.
Wow, the red light is on. I will ask
one
more question last. You spoke about listening.
Yes.
And it is important for leadership skills.
Yes.
And Toastmasters, we listen a lot because 2 hours, we speak 5 minutes and listen a lot. But if you want to give any practical tips to be a better listener for people in the corporate life, what it would be?
One of the big reasons that, one of the big reasons that we can't listen is because we don't concentrate. So if you can train yourself to concentrate, then you can train yourself to listen. And if we then can truly listen to somebody else, what they have to say, and listen to understand rather than listen to compete. So it's the big problem with listening is that our concentration span is less and less and less and less. And with all of our devices and things that we out of concentration all the time. So just spend time learning or teaching yourself to concentrate. There's lots of skills that you can use, that you can find YouTube lessons on, etc. But that's the biggest challenge for people, is the inability to concentrate. And if you can concentrate, it affects everything else positively as well.
Wow. Let me breathe in.
And breathe out again.
Breathe out again. Thank you very much. Can I request everyone to please switch on their camera and unmute themselves? Let us give a thundering round of applause to Steph.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're not able to switch on the camera.
Steph, I can't tell you how useful it was. And I am going to buy your book, that is 100% sure, and go to all the exercise and go through the dictionary. And now I would request if you can stay back for 30 minutes more, or if you are if you want to leave, that is also fine. But we would request that you stay with us for 20 minutes to see where the learnings that were captured.
Perfect. I'd love to. Vinod, can I just say a big thank you to Jijie for organizing this and for organizing for me to be here. I really do appreciate it. And if anybody wants to know how we do virtual training now, I have an offering of an hour a day, then they can talk to Jijie about it, and she's the conduit. But thank you, Jijie. I see you now I can see you. And thank you. I so appreciate this opportunity. It really has been terrific. What a great division this is.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Steph. And let me hand this over to DTM Jijie to facilitate her session with the Mind Map Warriors. Over to you, DTM Jijie. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mom Stephanie. This has been a dream come true. With all the learnings I got from you in the 11 years, I still can't get enough. I still am whenever I listen to you. And today, what a gift we gave through the cooperation of Division B Governor to present you to all our fellow Toastmasters. Amazing. So now we are going to digest everything. We have requested everybody to do a mind map, and our facilitators were also capturing every word that they can with whatever you have said today. So we will be back in a few minutes. We will now go to each of our teams. May I request our Zoom master, Toastmaster Sharon, to now take us to all the rooms. Cielina and I will be together in the room, and all the facilitators will be there. So my fellow Toastmasters and guests, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So don't miss this chance to interact with fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's just a few more minutes, but believe me, it's going to be worth your time because of the knowledge sharing and all the ideas you will be sharing with the team.
Okay.
See you in a while.
Okay,
You'll enjoy your interaction.
Okay, I'm opening all rooms. Please join. Click to join the rooms. I request everyone to please join the rooms that you have been assigned to. Ajita, do you want to be in any room?
It's okay, Sharon. Let me time from here.
Okay.
What's the timing, Sharon?
Actually, we are giving 15 minutes for group discussion and 20 minutes for presentation. Ajita, so just see it, yeah? 15 minutes.
Okay. I'll let you know in 10, 12, and 15. Okay.
Oh, we are 9, 10. Okay, we have 20 minutes only.
So 15 minutes will, I just click on, join.
15 and 10 for presentation.
Yeah.
You have to reduce the vote of thanks then, yeah?
No, vote of thank is fine. By 3 minutes, it should be okay.
Okay.
Okay, awards you did in the beginning, so it won't come at the end, right?
No, awards done.
Okay.
Whoever is in this main room, I request you all to please join your rooms.
You can assign them?
I've already assigned them. They have to go and click.
They are 14. They are moving.
They may not be in the screen, that's why.
That's why. Sammy, I'm not, because he said he's outside, so I haven't. Sammy, yourself, and Harish have not.
So 15 minutes group discussion and 10 minutes presentation.
Could you please assign me again, because I don't have that.
Babu Mathur, he's not assigned.
You've been assigned, right? Yeah.
Yes. In fact, what is that?
Some rooms are very less, I think.
It's okay, fine. I'm just an observer, so I don't mind.
No, actually, but I've already assigned you somewhere. From 7, Ajay Kumar. Ajay Kumar. I think Ajay Kumar. Vinod.
Yeah.
Ajay got locked out, I think. He's not there, and breakout room 7 is without anybody.
Okay, check with Jijie.
Jijie is in one breakout room. She's also gone.
So they are all alone there. Okay.
Let me just see her. Whether she's there or not.
He can log in, no?
Yeah.
Or please move all the 7th group participants to other group.
Okay, I'll move that. Let me just see. Breakout room 7. 7. I'll then move them to, yeah. That's better.
I'll come, 1 minute.
Actually, after this session, people are more energized, like last time they were not
After
feeling
they get there to the group discussion, they will be more the same.
Yeah.
Some people have not joined, that's why. Some breakout rooms are very lean.
Small rooms, huh?
Is there
Next
a
time-
size difference in each room?
No, next time we should order for the same size rooms.
You know, actually, I started doing, allocating 10 people to each room, other than the facilitator. After some time, you see, it's only 6 people. Okay, Ria D'Souza. Ria, which room were you in? Let her connect. Not connected to audio. Ria, can you just log out and log in again? If you can hear me.
Rupesh.
None of these people. Rupesh also hasn't joined.
DTM Rupesh.
Which is why it's dangerous. But self-confidence comes from, I have competencies that I can do this, this, and this. And the more competent I become, then the more confident I become. So the learning leads to confidence, not necessarily esteem. So when it comes to our thinking brain, we have to tell ourselves, it's okay, I'm going to be klutzy at this. I don't know how to do this thing. So when we're young, we're doing things that we don't know how to do. We're doing that all the time when we're young. So it doesn't make us afraid. The older we get, the less new stuff we're doing. So when we do new stuff, we don't like the feeling of being stupid or incompetent or being seen to be. So we kind of muddle our way through it by looking maybe to other people that we actually may know what we're doing or talking about. So everybody's thinking brain works. It's just sometimes we don't like how their thinking brain works.
Right. So basically you are saying self-esteem and self-confidence.
Yeah.
These are two different things and differentiated by competence.
Confidence is initiated by competence. Esteem is when we tell children that you are special because you are you. That's very dangerous because it means nothing. That there's nothing I can do about that. When we tell children they're clever, if they are, there's nothing they can do about it. They have no agency. When we tell little girls you're beautiful, that there's nothing that they can do to make it better, worse, whatever. They have no agency over it. So we can be really helpful to children when we say to them, you know, I notice when you do that, you're really good at it, or you've got lots of energy, or you're very enthusiastic about that. And so we give them much more realistic feedback. And we can say to kids that are struggling at maths but are really good at languages, we say, well, you know, you're really good at languages, that focus on that and the maths will come what won't. Maybe it's not something you're interested in. So helping children to understand what they are showing interest in when they're showing it. So to tell somebody that they're special just because they are you, and when we treat our children as if they are little princes and princesses, they know we are not king and queen. So it makes us their slave only. and
Right.
when they grow up, the problem now is we've got whole generations of children who are being told that they are special just because they are who they are. Now you to your parents, you always will be, or it's quite likely, but not to the outside world. So you've got a whole lot of younger people in their 20s who grew up on this, I'm special because I'm me, who think that they are very special, but they can't try anything new, because when we try something new, it proves that we're incompetent. So it shows that I'm not special. So I'm terrified to try anything new if I believe that I'm special just because I'm me. which is quite a meaningless concept anyway. So it's the whole self-esteem movement that was quite almost narcissistic, that the person, Nathaniel Branden, who started the whole self-esteem movement in the 70s, 80s, he was connected to, he was Ayn Rand's lover, and you don't get much more selfish than Ayn Rand. And so it started off as this whole me, 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 and it's really not helpful. It's very much a Western world concept, is me, 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 rather than if you heard Mungi Ngobani speak in terms of everyday Ubuntu, and most of the rest of the social constructs in the world put people and community first. It's only in the Western world we put money individually and power all wrapped up in one and put that first as our priority. So the rest of the world works far better with collaboration because it's something people understand, rather than the Western world. It's just, we think it's just about me. If I work hard enough, if I do enough, it's not. We can't possibly succeed, or we can't thrive or survive on our own.
Okay, but one challenge is when it is like one against many, like there are few people who want to collaborate and many people who want to overpower you, then there will be this challenge, what is going on today. How to cope in that? Because many times people want to do what they love, but they end up doing something totally different.
Yes. And that is a problem that I think will stop with this new next normal that we're going into, because we were threatened with AI taking lots of jobs. Now we're threatened with companies that are collapsing because they don't have meaning in their core value. So they're just providing stuff rather than having meaning. So I think that there's going to be a whole lot of change. And if there's just one of us, there often is just one against the many who may be into the me, me, me competitive. Certainly in the Western world, we need to use our powers of persuasion. Now, a great leadership thinking umbrella is called multipliers. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Liz Wiseman, she did the research project. And that talks about exactly, it's our nervous system. How do we get the best out of other people? How do we help them love, safety, trust, etc., to create those environments to get the best, help them to get the best out of themselves?
One quick question before everybody comes in. I tried to buy your book on Amazon. I was not able to do that. It shows that it's not available in this region.
On Amazon.com?
Yeah, Amazon.com, even the Kindle version.
Good heavens. Okay, I'll check on that.
Yes, please send me the link, because usually I try to read much before whomever I try to interview on this, but
That's
I could
very
not.
Odd.
Yeah. So I think so means it may be news for you also.
It certainly is news to me. So
yeah, so you can
that.
ask few of your friends in Dubai to try to download it if it is possible.
Okay, I will do so. Thank you for that. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. Bring in everyone. Bring in everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Venat.
Thank you.
We all came back from the break room.
We're just waiting for everyone to join back. Okay, done. DTM Jijie? I don't think DTM Jijie is here as yet. So the first group can go on. First facilitator can unmute themselves and start presenting. Shall I call out? Okay, Toastmaster Khulud.
As we agreed, was Jijie and Sianlia.
Okay.
Group
fine.
2, we had the groups before the meeting.
Yeah, but both of them are not here.
You will be able to see the facilitator number next to each of the names, so you can pick.
Who is number one? They can come forward, unmute themselves, and come forward.
One was Jijie and Sianlia.
Yeah, she's not yet here. So if we can
Jijie
move
is not here?
forward.
Yesterday
Not yet here.
group?
2 was Sonali.
Sonali?
Sonali, you are muted.
Unmute.
You're still muted.
Yeah, no, you just click once, Sonali. Yeah.
Yeah, I just need to know the timer. Yeah, the time. Okay, fine. Shall I start?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Good evening, everyone. Just bear with me for a minute. I'll display my mind map. So our team is the Life Changers, and we have made notes on both the lectures, both the talks. The first one is the happy brain chemicals. So herein, Miss Loretta spoke about the new challenges, the new normal, where she spoke about the 3 primary aspects which are troubling us, like the fear, self-discipline, and loneliness. Then she spoke of how our brain needs rewards, the 4 chemicals. Then she went on to say how the brain is primed for survival, where the cortisol gives warnings. And there she showed the monkey video where it was depicting the flight or flight aspect. Then she went on to tell us how we need to build new pathways. We need to rewire our brains. For that, we need to be aware of the past pathways, the way we are habituated to react to what happens outside. And therein, we need to relearn happy habits, which can change our personality and then our reality. She went on to speak about the dopamine. The dopamine is the feel-good chemical which releases energy, where she also gave a tip about the 3 minutes, how you can calm down pets and give them reward after the success. Then she spoke about how we need to create goals, for taking those tiny, consistent steps towards fulfilling the goals, which motivates actions to meet our needs. So then she spoke about how when frustrated, we have to have we need to remember that we have the power to change ourselves through our skills. So we need to keep on focusing on our path and to keep trust in our skills. She also spoke about the oxytocin. Sharon, just a request. I can't see the timer. So can you just tell me when my time is ending?
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
I think it is already done.
It is up, time up.
Okay. So she spoke about the oxytocin, where we have this need to belong to a group. And when the oxytocin is released, we feel safe and secure. Herein also, we need to take these tiny steps towards achieving the release of oxytocin. Then also the serotonin, where we need social approval, acceptance, and respect. And lastly, the endorphins, which when released makes us feel happy. They are the response to emotional stress and the physical pain, especially during marathon or surgery. So if we need to live a happy and fulfilling life and control the stress in whatever situation we face outside, we need to ensure that our happy brain chemicals feel flowing abundantly. So with this, I hand over to Sharon again. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sonali. In the second group of DTM Jijie's group, I think DTM Robin was there. DTM Robin, would you like to share?
but I don't have the screen. She'll have to share the screen. I was just part of it.
Okay.
If she shares the screen, then I can do something about it. Otherwise, if you just want me to speak, I can speak a little bit, but I think
Yes.
it'll be better with the screen so that people can see the screen like Sonali showed.
No problem. So anyone else who has, we have one more time for just one more group. If anyone is ready, they can just unmute themselves and the facilitator can talk.
Yeah, Sharon, I will go.
Okay, Sudarshan.
Yeah, one second. Let me share my screen. I hope my screen is shared.
Yes.
So we are Team Dopamine Addicts. So what we have done is, since Sonali has already spoken about the first topic, I will rather focus on the second one, which is on the emotional intelligence. So we went with a theory of looking at the 5 W's and the H. So we started with looking at what is the need for emotional intelligence and what does it do. So essentially we looked at the fact that it makes us feel safer, both psychologically and physically. And what does it have, when is it most required? It is required in our work, it's required in our life. And what is one of the things that triggers this need for us to be aware of what we are feeling, which is the action of neuroception, which is essentially causing us in the body to get into a fight or flight mode. And if that fight or flight mode gets further deteriorated, then we feel threatened, and in the threat state we get completely immobilized, and this causes us to completely shut down and not take decisions. And what happens when we are in that state? If we are in that inward state where we are immobilized and are in the fight and flight mode, we either become very competitive and untrustworthy. Above all, we become fearful, and we also start generating negative stories in our mind, which essentially disables us from functioning normally. Whereas when you are in the upper end of the ladder, you are feeling more connected with the entire universe and you are inherently a lot more collaborative. And why should we know and tap into emotional intelligence? To be more collaborative, to be able to innovate, to be able to trust people around us, and essentially to love life. And what happens to us when in this state of emotional intelligence? As far as we ourselves are concerned, we are able to read and predict people's reactions, and people are able to read us and therefore feel a sense of belonging to us and read into what we say and what we do. And what are the things that we can do to help in our emotional intelligence? One is obviously the outcome is we will thrive and not just survive. Second is our vagus nerve will essentially help us ensure that we are in control, because as she explained, the vagus nerve transmits our our feelings into our facial expressions, our body languages, and of course our words. And the vagus nerve also ensures that what happens stays within our system. And one of the ways in which we can actually build a lot more emotional intelligence quotient is to follow the principles of Ubuntu, which is essentially leading us to a situation of love, trust, and safety. And one of the ways in which he talked about was the practice of everyday Ubuntu and doing small little things which essentially take us to that state of safety, that feeling of trust, and that feeling of love. And it is also another tactic that she talked about was to listen and listen actively, so that the sender as well as the receiver both feel more connected and more associated with one another. One of the books she talked about was Future Fit Now, which is the new book that she's released, which she was encouraging all of us to read. So this is a short summary of what Steph talked about in her speech.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sudarshan. So the rest of you are mind maps will come to you all later. I mean, this will be shared to everybody. So now since we are a little behind time, we quickly move on to our last segment. Didi, Vinod, would you like to add something, or shall I go to the vote of thanks?
I will hand over to Harish, Sharon.
Yeah, one second.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mind Map Warriors. This is the second time that we have used this mind mapping technique, and it is so useful. And again, we realize that the time is 30 minutes is nothing. Personally, we have requested this to our club growth director Rania, and we will be requesting to the district director, coming district director Nelson, to use mind mapping for membership building and planning education for the next year, and have a session for 2 to 3 hours. From our side, we will definitely push this. And let me give my officially hand it all the responsibilities of Division B to our incoming Division Director, Toastmaster Harish, for a vote of thanks. Harish, all yours from now.
Thank you, DTM Vinod. I have well received the baton. Good evening all, and thank you one and all for attending this final session from Division B before the closing of the Toastmaster year. I guess it was a valuable session, and all of you would definitely have found something or the other as takeaway after spending time here. It's my turn to extend the vote of thanks for all those who made it today. I take this opportunity to thank our stars of the day. Thank you, DTM Jijie Zablan, for the overview and the workshop on mind mapping and how it can improve our daily lives by making better decisions. Thank you, Dr. Loretta Breuning, for logging in all the way from across the globe, sharing your valuable insights on our human happy chemicals that make us feel the way we do and how we manage them. Again, thank you, Dr. Stephanie Vermeulen. I think she's still online. Thank you for that, especially. And for being with us today, sharing your knowledge on emotional intelligence and how we can manage our emotions and of the people around us to our advantage. Thank you again. Thank you, Toastmaster Pragnya and DTM Vinod, for facilitating the moderation of the first one and the Q&A for the second sessions. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our district officials, DTM Robin Anand, our division director. He always makes it a point to be there for all interesting sessions. The fact that he's there till the late means that there is real value in this session. Thank you for that. And we take it as an acknowledgement. Also, we had DTM Sunil Kotarathil, Region 11 advisor and past district director, and also DTM Rani Abdulrab. I'm not sure whether she's still online, but thank you for being there. She's our district PR manager and district 105 CGD elect. It is said that we save the best for the last, right? It's the wonderful audience. After all, your presence and the learning you have from these makes the session great. Thank you all for attending and being so supportive. Inarguably, it was an eventful year for Toastmasters, and we saw a lot of challenges, and especially Division B also did a phenomenal job in these times. Division B successfully managed to transform challenges in hand as opportunities to serve the Toastmasters by organizing and delivering valuable educational sessions and online workshops. This would have never been possible if it was not for our DD, Division B Director, Vinod Panikkar. Let's give a huge round of applause to our DD, DTM Vinod Panikkar, for his brilliant work as Division B Director this year.
You can all unmute yourselves.
Yeah, he deserves it.
Thank you. Thank you.
The most happening division in entire District 105. Maybe we'll take a private acknowledgement from our division director for that later, district director for that.
Absolutely.
As the next Division B director, we have chosen the theme as Let's Learn and Grow Together. Our lieutenants, which is our ADs, our assistant division directors, we have BQ Program Quality Assistant Division Director Ajita is still with us, and also we have the club growth Toastmaster DTM Divyaraj, and also we have our division advisor DTM Uma Radhakrishnan. We all will jointly make this theme a reality, which is Let's Learn and Grow Together. Division B will continue the legacy by bringing on the board valuable sessions to our members, but not limited to, in the following ways which you need to look out for. One, we are lining up almost 12 sessions in the form of education and workshops, and those sessions will be driven by our areas, backed by Division B. More details will be announced in due course. Division B, in partnership with other division, is designing a unique initiative to level up and prepare the speakers from this district, refining them as champion speakers, which will be at par with international standards. This is also another initiative we want to bring in. More will follow, but this is what we have at the moment. I request all your support in learning and growing together. I would also request you to be in touch with our social media handles specifically the Facebook, so that you are updated on our events. Thank you one and all from bottom of my heart for attending this session and making it a success. With this, I declare this meeting session closed. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much.
Great job. Thank you very much, Division B. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, fantastic. I think the last session has been so brilliant that you've given all the tools to the next team.
Yes, that was.
Yes, Vinod bhai, you have done a very good job. And all the best, Harish bhai.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have a very good team. I was blessed to have a very good team, honestly. Yes. Robin, your comment, anything?
I think, you know, these kind of sessions are very, very important because we need to enhance our skills. Unless we enhance our skills, we cannot add skills or we cannot add value in our own sessions. So I think this is a great start. And like Harish promised, so hold him for the 12 sessions he has promised, and it has been broadcasted. So he cannot, you know, now lower that standard. So it is only, you know, appropriate that the members take most out of it. Today we saw around 100 people, but I think we should maximize it even more, because why 100? You know, we have 5,000 members, you know, let's have maybe 200, 300 people attending so that they can carry the message and, you know, reach out to the clubs, because when we enrich our clubs, that's when we get better speeches and, you know, better sessions happening. So all the best. This is a great start. And I hope that, you know, it continues not only at division, at area, club and district level. So thank you so much.
Yes,
Fantastic.
we would like to see the mind mapping having at district level, Robin. You need to help us.
We should do it. We should surely do it. In fact, I like the idea of the facilitators. So basically, you know, the training facilitators can take up this role so that then they can make sure that the club presidents, for example, in a club officer training, the facilitator is making the club president do this map. They will never forget it. You know, so I think it's a good idea, because I think, and if you do it earlier, it is easier for the area, division and district teams, because then the presidents will do the job they are supposed to do.
Great. Thank you. DTM Jijie, are you there now?
Yes, I'm very sorry.
Thank you very much, DTM Jijie. It's okay. You got disconnected.
I'm confident that the facilitators have done their part. I will be watching the video soon. I had an excellent team. Can you believe my former boss and the highest ranking official were in the team, because the Alina was not able to do it. But amazing. We had such really amazing discussion. So thank you. Thank you so much. See, we still had some more people staying. Wow, we still have 29 people.
Yes, thank you very much, DTM.
Congratulations, Vinod. Good show.
DTM Altaf, thank you very much. All the mind map warriors. You have been working very hard, and like what you say, no?
I'm not DTM, I'm just a Toastmaster still. I'm not a DTM.
Soon to be. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. So let's leave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
all.
Sudha.
Sona, good
Thank
to see
you to all the facilitators. I'll be in touch with you.